Amazing things. We will do amazing things. My goodness. That's all based on perspective, isn't it? What's amazing? It's amazing. For some of us, we could forgive our parents. Wouldn't that be amazing? What is it to be amazed? To say, this happened and I have no idea how it happened. Some of the things I've done in my life how did I have the willingness to do that? I didn't control that. I participated, but I didn't control it. I'm amazed. Some of us don't have the education that we might think to do some of the things we've done, and yet we have done them. Some of us don't think we have the childhood background to do some of the things that we have done, or to be thinking some of the concepts we are thinking, and yet it has happened. I remember when I first came to Unity, those first few weeks of taking classes in New York, and I would hear these concepts that I absolutely understood. And I thought, how do I know that? Nobody talked about this stuff in my house. How do I know? But I knew it. I just intuitive. I was amazed at that. I was very impressed. That, oh, look at that. We know this. I can participate in this. And yet, sometimes I would still tell myself some dreadful things. Just so many things that just weren't true. They really weren't true. And how unkind of us to say some of the things we say about ourselves. Oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, I'm ugly. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. Those things are not true. They are, because if they can be based on an opinion, how could they be true? And it's the same way to give one individual credit for being, oh, they're amazing. Well, no, it's not that they're amazing. You're impressed by them because there's something about them that you identify with. Oh, no, I could never do that. Well, that's not true. If you applied yourself, and maybe you could. Now, there are certain things that I don't believe I could ever do, but I don't go around talking about them because I don't need to put that onus on myself of what I can't do. I need to be looking more at, well, what can I do? We went to Carnegie Hall Friday night. Now, there is a prayer in my steps of healing, we'll call it, and there's a line in that prayer that says, relieve me of the bondage of self. And every day and every year I get a more deepened understanding of what that line is. And so much of it has to do with my self-consciousness rather than my God consciousness. And the other night we had tickets in the balcony at Carnegie Hall. People, heaven is a local call from the balcony of Carnegie Hall. And when you're in the front row of the balcony, you might think you could fly there personally. It was horrifying. We were smack center front row of the balcony. Now, I didn't mind the steps going down to it. It was when we were there and I could see out over the world. And as I've gotten older, and you'd think more healing, more stuff has come up in my life. More fears, more, what are those things called? I think it starts with a P. Phobias have come up, and one of them are those heights. But you see, what those are is the bondage of self. All my phobias, those are the bondage of self. And I knew it. I'm sitting there in the front row. And as long as I sat in my chair, I could see smack center stage. But I didn't dare look out over because it was like being on top of a roller coaster. I started losing my sense of reason. And so I just wrapped my arm around this pole that was next to me. And I didn't look too far. But I knew, well, if I wrap my arm around here, I'm not likely to hurl myself over the balcony. Because that's what it felt like to me. It's exactly what I don't mean to make fun of anybody because I had it. I guess I would still have it if I were there tonight. But I observed it and I prayed, and my prayer was, relieve me of the bondage of self, that my God self might shine through. and I can be present for this evening. And then the show started, and I could see the performer and the pops and everything. I could see it just fine. I was distracted, not panicked. I didn't have to get up and leave, although I was planning for intermission. But I was planning from that seat in the front row. I wasn't already at intermission. And so I just paid attention to that. Relieve me of the bondage of self. I am willing to release the bondage of self so that I may be better present in my mind, in my body, and for this evening. But I really observe it. I didn't want to tell myself the truth that this is bad. Oh, this is bad. I don't use the word bad. And it surprises me how many people hear, after all the years of hearing me say, please release that word. How many people hear to say, oh, this is a bad thing. No, it's not a bad thing. It's a hard thing. It's a very hard, difficult time sometimes. Being down in that front row was difficult. And it's confusing to what I know to be spiritually true. Do you ever encounter that? That you're behaving in a way, you're thinking in a way that you know is the exact opposite of what you know to be spiritually true, and you can't seem to stop yourself from thinking it. It's just so difficult. Well, because I struggled for years with this, I still hold on to possibility. It's possible to release this thought. It's possible. And so now I'm focusing on possibility rather than, no, I'm in danger. But no, I'm in the bondage of self. And I know what I'm experiencing is not true. My fear of just suddenly being hurled over that front of that balcony, that was not the truth. That was an experience. It was an experience I was feeling and thinking, I'm not sure which, in my mind. And I could feel it in my body. But I know it's not true that I would have to throw myself over the balcony. And it's an egoic thought. It's just something that happens when I look there, my system goes haywire, we'll call it. And as a kid, I was never afraid of this stuff. As a kid, I'd have been hanging over and looking, and so it makes no sense. I used to climb fires, big high fire escapes when I was a kid. So something happened on a roller coaster years ago, I think, that wonked me out when I was in my 30s. So knowing that, and then the first act did end, and somehow I wasn't afraid. I knew I could just turn sideways because I was on the aisle with the steps, and go like this and climb up the steps, and that's what I did. And or you go even higher, but you're not on a ledge. And then I said, oh, look, there's Maria. We came back to those seats, actually. I said, look, there's Maria and Andre over there. There's empty seats there. And so we got up, we went down one flight lower. And we got down to where they were sitting on the side. And they were so happy to see us. And we're about to, we're thinking we're going to get these great seats. Well, there's no chairs. There's the back, but no seat part. And I thought, well, I'm not going back up there. Well, David ended up with a seat in the front row on the side, and I went and stood on one little level right behind Maria. I had a great rest of my evening. But to keep paying attention, but even then, I feel safe here because it's still the bondage of self. And it's still telling myself, I'm safe here, but not there. I was always safe. The truth was, I was always safe. And there was never a time I had to tell myself, I'm unsafe. I think Course in Miracles says, if I defend myself, I am attacked. It doesn't mean anybody's attacking, but I think I am. So if I'm defending myself from the world, I think I'm under attack by the world, which is not true. The I am of me is never under attack. The I am of me is always safe. and to begin to pay attention to this stuff so that I don't tell myself my world is bad. My body is bad. My life is bad. I can't afford that information. I can't afford to be in conversations that talk that way. It's just because I will start to believe it somehow, which can be frustrating for somebody who wants to talk about that stuff. And it's like, I'm not your person to talk to about this stuff, but I can tell you about the good of God. I can tell you about the light of God. I can tell you about the possibility of God. I won't tell you about the magic of God, because there is no magic of God. What I know is many people have had healings. So I choose to believe in healing more than I believe in sickness. That's where I prefer to go with my thinking. I'd rather tell myself the truth, capital T truth, about healing. I don't know how people get sick, and I don't know how people get healed. I really don't. What I know is, with a shift in thinking, there's a shift in barometer, as it were. There's a shift in energy. With a shift, when David on our trip, we flew out from here on that first day to Phoenix, and it was a 6-hour flight, and then we drove 2 hours to Tucson. It was a hard day. It was very hard. But I didn't want to tell myself this is bad. And driving on a strange highway late at night did not inspire my confidence in well-being. But I stayed in the affirmations. But we're safe. There's nothing out to get us. Keep going. Keep going. You're almost there. You're almost there. And we were, and then we got there. And we got through. And I paid attention. And I didn't want to tell myself that at any time when I wasn't pleased to be where I was standing, that it was somehow bad. Nor do I scream, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good. Okay, I don't do cancel, cancel, cancel. Mm-hmm. I just want to tell myself the truth about myself. And I want to tell myself the truth about you. I don't want to tell myself anything that's untrue about you. You, meaning the entire world. I don't want to tell myself what you think. I don't want to tell myself what you're going to think. I don't want to tell myself what anybody on the news is going to say. I don't want to tell myself about the people I don't like. I don't like them because I have a bondage of self. And I'm using them to enhance that. And I catch myself. We were in Palm Springs, and some people I didn't care for. And I felt the need to announce that to a few other people. Why? Because I'm special. There are people I don't care for. And I know why. You shouldn't care for them either. And it's so foolish. And it so negates God in me. And it negates God in my friends that I'm telling that to. And it even negates God in the people I don't like. It's personalities. It's not their very being I don't like. It's their personality. For some reason, I have an opinion about it. I looked up a couple of things here. Truth. Truth is, the metaphysical meaning of truth is the absolute, that which accords with God as divine principle, that which is, has been, and ever will be, that which eternally is. The truth of God is reality, the same yesterday and today, yea, and forever. The verities of being are eternal and have always existed. Truth abides in fullness at the very core of man's being. The basic principle of truth is that the mind of each individual may be consciously unified with divine mind through the indwelling Christ. By affirming at oneness with God mind, we eventually realize that perfect mind, which was in Christ Jesus. I'm going to need my mic stand. How many of you can think of a time this week where you've told yourself something that pleased your intellect, but you know isn't true. Something about yourself that stimulated you somehow, but you know isn't true. Have you said anything unkind about another human being this week? Do you think it's true? Yes, you think it's true. There we go. It isn't. Thank goodness it isn't. Your thoughts, it's true enough, but the actual thing, thank goodness it isn't actually true. But to keep looking at this stuff and say, oh, I don't want to tell myself that anymore. But I'm kind of hooked on doing it. I'm kind of hooked on my thoughts. I like my thoughts. I'm smart. I'm funny. I'm intelligent. And yet, every time I do it, there's a sense of aloneness that comes here. Here, we call it the God-shaped hole. And it's like I gouge out that God-shaped hole and I leave it empty. Every time I'm telling myself something that's not true about myself or someone else or about life or even the things I tell myself about God that aren't true, I just kind of gouge out that hole and I leave it empty. And then I walk around wondering, why do I feel so alone? Why do I feel like there's something missing? And that's why. Because I've been telling myself things that aren't true. So, here in the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament, the book of Matthew, chapter 26, it says, as you read the scripture, you see that it is you who have betrayed yourself. For in your belief of your own thoughts, you hide the truth of who you are. This is the truth of your illusion. It stays with you, through you, no power but your own, and the truth shall set you free. So how about that? Your illusion. Now we look over here in chapter 21, and we say, peace comes from laying down your expectations and your judgments and accepting the truth as it is. There's no other way to accept the truth, for to accept it in any way other than as it is not to accept the truth. It is to accept delusion over truth, and in delusion, you are lost from truth. That's all we need on that one. And then we go back here to Revelation. Revelation chapter 5. And it says, it is the belief that you are what you are not, and that you have done what you could not do. How simple a passage. How confusing. It is the belief that you are what you are not. Most of us believe we are what we are not. We believe ourselves to be wildly imperfect. We believe ourselves to be wildly inadequate. And we dress it up to pretend we don't believe it. And we say funny, pithy things to mask the belief that we are somehow somehow we are not the good that we actually are. Because the good that we are is so simple. Too simple. And it confuses us. And when we think with our egoic mind, it actually makes us feel like maybe we're a little boring. That I'm just good. I don't have to do good, but I just am good. This is what I am. That's what my neighbor is. They are good. They are not what they do. They are not what they think. I am not what I do. I am not what I think. I am. Today, I am this beloved God being, walking around with other beloved God beings. I have no judgments that are valid, no opinions that make a difference. I am. Today, I am. And today, I am loved with an everlasting love. So for today, Let us sit, make our plans. But our plan is to know the truth. Because in knowing the truth, we are set free. Thank you.